Another episode of With the Chiefs.
Wait. Man, I need more rest.
I hope I've got your last name right there.
It's a very good pronunciation.
You should know better than that now, Dom.
I know.
Alright, we're recording.
All right.
Welcome back to another episode of With the Chiefs. This feels like...
And we're back.
This feels... I'm just as unprepared as when I had to give your 21st speech.
You mean the speech that all you said was basically you want me to scull the drink,
Yeah.
which I proceeded to scull a drink with 4 shots in it and then proceeded to pass out after.
Was it 4 shots?
It
Or?
was 4 shots.
Okay. Alright, so...
How we going, Chiefs?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Very well.
Who's this that's joined the podcast?
Well, you're not going to introduce
Let him introduce himself.
I'll just introduce you.
Okay, Adrian Caputo. I've been friends with Adrian for
Too long.
since kindergarten.
Kindergarten, yeah.
Yeah. I think,
Actually,
20-something years ago. What are we now?
We're
20,
getting old, mate. We're
yes.
29. Sorry, I haven't mentioned that on the
Fuck
podcast.
me, we are
before.
too. Hey,
Yeah.
24, 25
20
years, so
yeah.
something like
Jesus.
that, if I can do any form of math.
Stayed close
Long time.
friends, pretty much from kindergarten, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Went to different high schools, but stayed in touch.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
we sort of all met and everything.
What
We
about
actually
your
played
resume?
soccer together.
Yeah, and played
Playing
soccer together. Yeah.
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 We were all on the same team.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we were. When,
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
You loved
Honestly,
your-
I don't remember you
Mate,
being on the.
You
on
loved
the
your
team.
Robin Van Persie cut-ins when
I
we used to
did.
play
I
football.
don't think Dom was a part of that.
No, not that part, but that was phenomenal.
And Dad was coaching. I
That's
think it was
right,
just
yeah.
one season, but we were
How old
in.
were we
I
then?
think that was like year 3 or year
3
4
or
or
4?
something.
Yeah.
I honestly.
Yeah.
I can't
I don't
remember.
remember.
either.
I don't remember.
Amazing
I remember Mum talking about you like being really quick, like he's a runner. like Dom's always been a runner. That's what I remember, but I don't remember you running. I remember you had terrible ball control, and I might have just made that up.
Compensating
Alright.
for your shit ball control.
Yeah. So we'll go through. Let's finish the intro. Let's go through your resume. Adrian is a veteran of St John Ambulance. How long you been doing St John?
I'm in my 16th year.
That's actually ridiculous.
Yeah,
Volunteering.
Yeah.
How much money?
I have made a total of $0.00 in my entire. God, you still give me shit for that.
I do.
Yeah, no, volunteering for a bit over 15 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were a nurse. You're registered. Well,
So still technically registered, but not practicing much anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
and now you're a paramedic.
now I'm paramedic.
You had the big dream of being a paramedic.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you
Dream
made
never
it a
died.
reality.
Yep.
Yep. What else would you want to include in your resume?
God.
Football fanatic.
Mad football.
Daryl
fanatic.
Braithwaite fanatic.
Oh,
Couldn't
yeah.
tell.
I don't think there's a bigger Daryl Braithwaite
Nah,
fan.
probably
No.
not.
No.
If anyone walks into my place, they'd know. I'd probably go casual runner at best, especially at the
casual.
moment.
I think that's why.
Especially at the moment. I used to, well, it's a running podcast. I probably should mention.
Well, no, I was
running.
gonna say this is an installment called Chiefs Unhinged.
It is definitely
primarily
gonna be
because
unhinged.
you're on it, and also
Probably because I
because-
swear like a fucking sailor.
we're gonna beat that out.
Yeah, a bit of a casual run at the moment, but done a bit of running,
Yeah.
especially with you boys, lad running back in the day.
Lad
Yeah,
running.
actually,
Lad running.
that's right. Yeah.
The original LAD.
I think you were pretty much one of the big motivators. Aside from Dom, you're probably the other massive motivation for me getting started in running.
Nothing motivates you more than beating me at something.
Exactly. So we when was Sunrun? When was that first Sunrun?
It's
Do you
2019.
2019, I think it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah, 2019. That
Well,
was
the
that was-
end of 2018, we probably started.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about August, September. I think we started actually training for it.
Yeah.
But we
Took
would-
you guys down to the Oval and did 10 400s, and that was like the first ever session you'd
Oh,
ever
mate.
done.
Was that the
I remember
first session I've done
I
as
remember
well?
vividly.
Yeah,
that,
I think so.
We did a run. It was like a 5K run or something 5 or 6 Ks run, and we did it in like 36 minutes, and we were so fucking proud. Like we just like a fucking Usain Bolt. And then I remember very vividly we finished the run, and Smitty pulls up a fucking time from that you've run, and it was something obscene. Like,
Oh no, that was when we were discovering that humans can run.
Yeah,
sub
humans
4
can
minute
run
Ks.
humans could run faster than we could, and we were just like, hang on.
No,
And
because the concept of someone racing 340s, for
Oh,
example,
Yeah.
is like
we couldn't fathom the thought.
unheard of.
Yeah. I actually
Literally
I
unheard
didn't
of.
think it existed.
Yeah,
I was
no,
like-
genuinely
I
neither
was
did
like,
I.
I was like, yeah, okay, I got a good base. I'm a decent runner. Like
Yeah.
nothing special, but I'm a decent runner. But 340, I was like, get the fuck out of here.
But that's
Like,
when
what do
when
mean?
you have no concept of
Yeah.
Yeah.
paces. It's almost like
Facts.
when you tell someone you're like 10k time that doesn't run or doesn't have any concept of it, and they're like, oh, that's
Yeah.
And then-
And
but like-
they'll put you on par with like, I don't know, a pro runner pretty much. Like someone running sub 30
Yes,
and someone
yeah,
running
yeah.
sub 35.
Yeah.
They'll think like, oh, they're both like the same.
yeah.
But it's not. It's like
Yeah.
there's levels to it. Yeah.
Oh god, yeah. I
But
remember
from the
having
outside
to-
looking in, you don't know that.
Oh no, for sure. Like I remember explaining to someone. Actually, it was for the sun run when we were training for our very first sun run, and I was like to them, oh yeah, like going in this race and blah blah blah. It's a 10k race, and they're like, oh well, that's not too far. I was like, well, when the average walking pace is 4 kilometers an hour and you're aiming for over 13 kilometers an hour on average, it's a little bit quicker. And they were like, oh shit. I was like,
Well, you got it's
I was
hard
like, yeah,
when you give someone that, I guess, the perspective.
yeah,
It changes a little bit. But
100%.
so we did first race we all trained. Well, not you obviously, Dom, but you were training for sub 35 at the time.
Sub
I was gonna say he was
Yeah.
training, but just for
And
obviously very
sub
different
35
pace.
at Sunrun.
Yep.
Yeah. I'd gone sub 35 before.
Yeah, but not
at
on
Sunrun.
that course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was good to kind of like benchmark to get fit for, yeah.
Yeah. And then we made a. Did we make a bet?
We made a bet to see who would be quicker.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well done. We started training. We were training together, still a couple times a week because we
Yeah.
didn't want to sort of break the stride in that. But then we're obviously doing our own trainings. Obviously, still working everything as well. And just sort of in the last maybe month and a half, you just bulked up your training.
Yeah.
And just took the edge over me in the race.
I think it was just pure, just more volume.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's
just
what I mean.
like-
You
just more-
you bulked up the amount.
Because I was in that early stages where you just add on any extra.
Yeah.
Just add on extra volume and you're going to get fitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were doing basically the exact same running. It was just that you had increased your amount of kilometers in the last month or two,
Yeah.
and you just had the extra mileage in your legs. So when it got to the race, it just proved.
I was creating a bit of head noise for you as well.
What makes you say that?
I was psyching you. I was psyching
You
you
would
out.
not stop the entire build up,
Yeah.
and it was probably from nerves of losing to me potentially.
It was. I definitely don't. I definitely, if I'm going to lose to anyone, it definitely
Can't
better
be-
not be you.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where your ex-girlfriend was being like, just calm down. Like, you need to seriously calm down.
Yeah, because you're on another level when you compete with me.
That's true. It's not really healthy, is it?
I mean, you kind of push the boundary for healthy versus unhealthy. Like the time we played FIFA.
Oh, come on.
You want to hear that story?
Yeah.
So we had a tradition for a long time, which I still do it anyway because I still am heavily into FIFA. But we bought the new FIFA each year when it came out, on the day it came out.
Yeah.
And we'd probably usually go back to Smitty's place and we'd just play for about half a day to a day. We'd literally...
It was like when the game, we
Like,
anticipated it.
we literally
for a month.
NA work, we'd be like, nah, work can go.
I don't
fuck
think we were
itself.
working at that point.
I think I was working at least
I
part
think we
time.
were in high school.
Was this high school? No, it was after.
is-
No, it was after high school.
Is
but
it?
I was working part time. I think when I was doing my nursing.
Okay.
Alright.
And I mean, yes, we weren't really working all that much anyway.
Yeah.
But even if we were, we made sure we weren't working for when the release date came out, and we'd spend half a day at least playing FIFA just non-stop. And more often than not, Smitty beats me, which is fine.
Okay, let's give it a true representation.
Well, technically that's correct.
I mean, it
But-
is, but literally 99.3% of the time.
Get off. I'd go 90.
Okay.
I'd go 90. All right.
All right.
Fair 90%. Fair 90%. Right. Which is fine. I cop it on the chin. Right. but the 10% is the problem.
I'm
for him.
pretty good. Okay.
So this particular time, I bought the FIFA, and first 3 games. Well, we didn't even get to the end of the 3rd game. We played the first 2 games, and I beat him fairly comfortably, but not too bad. It was like 2 or 3-0 wins. Then we got to the
It's
third.
me had the shitty controller.
No, I had Aston Villa.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
So
Aston
we would
Villa.
play with.
Same.
So the tradition was we'd play with our teams that we supported. So I was Chelsea and he was Aston Villa.
What a mistake
Right.
supporting Aston Villa.
I don't know where that came from either. It was a bit of an odd decision. But this particular time
Are they
we
still in the Premier League?
yeah.
I don't even know. I haven't
Yeah,
followed
yeah,
it
they
that
are.
long, but
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
all can't just jump on the Chelsea bandwagon. Let's be real.
No. I'm going to get back to why I support them.
Okay.
No,
All right.
get fucked. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Adrian,
So
so
Aston Villa
this
beat
is
Chelsea.
a
Yeah.
this is a friend.
I probably should give a bit of a disclaimer / apology in advance.
That's
I
fine.
swear like a sailor.
We know.
I apologise
we know.
to all the people listening. There's
That's
going to
okay.
be lots of beeping or just lots of profanity, so just bear with.
This won't be released, so it's all
Yeah,
good.
okay, good. Well, then just for us. But either way, so we're playing this game, and I was flogging him in this game. We got to the 70th minute, and I scored my 4th goal, right? And I was all over him the entire game. Scored in the 70th minute. He hurls the controller across the room. Alt F4s on the computer to like get out of the application entirely, and tells me to literally leave his house. And kicked me out of his house. I was like, if you was like, yeah, get the fuck out.
You were getting ready to leave.
Okay, we were probably gonna play.
Like it wasn't
Okay.
me like just get out. Like
One, we were maybe gonna play like a couple
dad
more
was gonna
games
pick you up
first.
soon.
Yeah, we're gonna play a couple more games first though. But you kicked me out like 15 minutes early, so I had to wait outside to get picked up.
we've spent 68 episodes getting a small listener base, and we've just lost everyone. So.
Yeah. Well, you think it was going to grow when I came on? Come on. Let's be
No,
real.
but that is true.
It's true.
There's
It's
nothing more.
fact.
Losing in FIFA is really up
Yeah,
there
it
with like
sucks.
losing in tennis is another one.
It
that I
sucks.
can't. Tennis is
Yeah.
real tough.
Yeah.
What's
Or
no?
golf.
Yours is golf.
Fucking go.
We found his trigger
Genuinely,
point.
that's the most angry I've seen you at is at golf, losing to golf. Because I
Yeah, no.
absolutely drill you every time.
Is it like 11-1 or something?
Yeah, and the one time you beat me was at Terry Hills after you took
After
me
a
on
long
a
run.
34k long run.
Make sure
And
his
I was
ball
using
on
your
that
plugs.
Yeah. Still counts though. Still counts.
I mean, yeah, look.
Just like the one race you've got over him, right? You guys got that one
Oh, yeah,
victory
true.
over each
But
other.
that's actually true.
Fingal
True.
Bay.
I
You've
would-
got Fingal Bay, and he's got that one golf victory.
Yeah. I'll definitely take running over golf, to be honest.
I feel like running, it's never like that competitive though. It's more just you kind of doing your own thing.
Yeah.
Unless you're him with me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty supportive with most
But even
people.
still though, like after the sun run, like Smitty wasn't rubbing it in your face. He was like, "Oh, well done." Like,
No, come on, be honest.
No, okay. For the most part, you were really supportive because I wasn't actually too far behind you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a
Um,
good contest.
You appreciated the fact that that's just football.
That's right.
Yeah, you appreciated the fact that I actually ran like some form of decent time for my first race. You had to have your 5 cents and still rub it in, but like for the most part, you were actually supportive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We've got a long.
Got to give it to you.
Yeah, it was good because I think that, well, for the most part, it was healthy competition, but it definitely sparked the first like enjoyment in running for sure, or the like doing it together sort of thing.
yeah,
100%.
yeah. Those are good days when we were training
Yeah,
together.
Facts.
yeah. And
Now you guys are so much further ahead of me. It's not even funny.
I think you got a little bit more on your plate in terms of
Probably just
work wise.
marginally, hey?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Even at the time though, you were like, well, I don't know if you were working night shifts or just going out and partying, but
Both.
yeah.
If
I
I'm
don't know
being-
how you.
If I'm
Yeah.
being honest, there was definitely less on my plate at that point. Definitely
Yeah.
less on my plate.
What were you doing What were you doing work wise then?
I was working as a nurse actually at that point.
Were you in emergency at that point?
No, not at that point. At September of 19, I moved into emergency. So sort of like at the beginning of our running I was in orthopedic rehab, so like bones and recovery from surgeries and stuff like that. And then September.
When were you
19.
in the nursing home? How
That was
much?
before.
Yeah, that was before. Like how much further before?
Excuse me. So I did that whilst I was studying my nursing. So it was 2013 to 2016, I think it was, roughly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was there for a couple of years, and then didn't get along with the manager very well when the new one came in, and like they rejected a signed contract that I had to become permanent part-time. I was like,
Really?
it's a legal document. Yeah. Took it to Fair Work and everything, and they were just like,
not worth it.
we're caught between a rock and a hard place with this one.
Right.
They were like, you sort of getting the hours anyway, so it's really your decision. Then I found out they were underpaying me.
I remember this actually.
Yeah. So if you've got the skills to look after people, but not the certificate 3, then they can pay you less.
Right.
But if you actually have the certificate, then they pay you a bit more.
Yeah.
And you
I
had the
handed my certificate in, which was actually a requirement which they told me when I
When you
applied.
Got the job.
And so I handed it in, and they were underpaying me from the outset.
Gee.
So
You got that clawed back, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So found out they owed me over $2,000,
Really?
and then I spoke to Fair Work about it, and they were like, give them a set time to pay the money. If they don't pay it, then lodge a formal complaint.
Yeah.
I emailed them. I said, 48 hours to transfer it or I lodge it, and within 24 I got the money,
Really?
and then I quit the next day.
That is, it's not
Jeez.
great when you have to apply that sort of pressure.
No,
Yeah.
well, it shows the difference between a good manager and a bad manager, really.
Yeah. But did you have to did you raise it with them and then they sort of ignored it? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I was in the manager's office like weekly
About it, okay.
about that and about other issues and stuff like that. She didn't like me off the bat just because how confident I was in my job.
Yeah.
A direct quote from this woman, right, which I heard her say was, "I can't get along with my employers because I have to show them I'm the boss."
That doesn't seem like
I was like,
it.
that is the biggest bunch of garbage I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
I've managed things before and I get along with everybody just fine and still assert my authority when I need to.
Yeah.
A bunch of bullshit. So I was like, nah, this isn't the place for me. I'm not enjoying work anymore. As much as I loved the job in itself, I was like, I'm not enjoying, like a lot of the staff that I'd become friends with had left. And yeah, the whole feel of the place was just turning to crap. So I went, nah,
Yeah.
I think it's about time I leave. I was in my last year of nursing anyway, and towards the back end of a pretty messy relationship. So it was probably about time I started moving on from there and sort of decreasing my sort of cognitive load and stuff. So
Yeah, well, it seems like life sort of just pushes you naturally in that direction.
yeah,
Yeah.
When your workplace is sort of not a great place for you,
100%.
you wouldn't want to fight that too much.
Oh no, and I'm not one who's going to stay at the workplace just for staying there.
Yeah.
Like if I don't like the job, I'm not going to be there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but-
hard. Like once you start thinking that way as well, to turn it around. Like, you need something big to change, really.
100%.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I tried that much for that place. It wasn't even funny.
Yeah,
Like-
like I think I've had like the same thing working at like somewhere that was once fun to work at, and then I don't know, you get a bit over it or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think Smee's the same. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I feel like it's tough because when you get in that scenario, then everything becomes a negative as well.
yeah.
So you're like, you're seeing almost everything. Well, this is just me. You see everything as a negative.
Yeah.
Because you're like disputing with some people, and then you can't see. Yeah, it just turns into
it's hard to see. It's hard to try and find a positive, and there's a lot of negatives in that situation. And then
But then you find yourself acting like how you don't want to act. Like
Yeah,
You're like being petty and like.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
You
then
just
you look back and you're like, oh,
fuck yeah, I wasn't a good person.
Yeah, I don't like the way I
man, I
feel.
was acting like an asshole at that point. Like
Yeah.
You get. It's almost like you get pushed into a corner.
Yep.
And then the only scenario is to leave.
Yeah, I'm not going to stay at somewhere I don't like working.
Yeah.
I've never wanted to. I've just always gone by that mentality. I'll always work hard and I'll do my job properly, but I'm not going to get treated like crap.
Yeah, but
and comment on the chin.
But you've proven obviously in a good work environment, like it's no problem.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
After the race, what was running like after the race? I can't.
You went on and did Canberra.
Yeah, because then we did the half.
We did. Was that my next race? When was Canberra?
So
In April.
you then started training for the Mara.
I think, did we do a 5K in between? Was there a 5K in between? I can't remember. I remember doing the Canberra half.
Yeah.
That thing I struggled hard.
But that's not too long after. Like I think Canberra's
it's
April
the next year. So, actually no, that year wasn't it?
It's like February and then
two
April.
months away or something. I did not have the K's in my legs to run a decent time in that.
Yeah.
But the goal was to finish.
Yeah.
Still your first half
First
marathon.
half marathon.
Yeah.
Knew absolutely nothing about it.
Yeah.
I know some people sort of have different opinions about it, but I don't like consuming things during a race. It annoys me. I know when you get to the marathon sort of thing, then it's a necessity to sort of
definitely.
actually do it. But anything, I haven't done a marathon yet, but I was able to get through a half marathon just fine without.
Yeah, you can get away.
You can get away with it as long as you prep properly, I think. So, so I was pretty happy with doing that. But obviously, my legs were ill prepared for for the kilometers that came through. So
when were you your fittest? Do you reckon? Because you broke. You had a good city surf.
Yeah. So
was that same year we did city surf? Or?
No, that was the following year. Following year. When was it? Maybe
2021.
2021, I think it was.
Then COVID,
I think it was right before. Yeah, actually, because it was near the end of the football season when I snapped the ligaments in my ankle.
Oh, that's right. Oh, we forget the constant back and forth with like Adrian claiming that football is run training and me claiming that football is not run training.
All right, for those who are listening, comment and you guys answer.
No one will leave a comment. They've already stopped.
Well, you know what? I'm going to just put it out there anyway. If you think it counts, let us know. All right.
I mean,
but there's some merit to it. Like
I know it's just I put myself in this position and I won't concede the position.
Once again, he has to try and be right about a situation, even if he's wrong, just because it's me, and he can't accept it for what it is. So.
It's too much stop-start.
I guess like
stop-start.
Proof's in the pudding. That Sydney to surf was the best like run you've ever had.
Yep,
and that was off the back of football training.
Correct. Correct.
That's true. That's true.
No, like okay, yes, it's not necessarily like the running you do with football is obviously different running, right? But. A lot of it is fast-paced start and stop in there, but you are activating those fast twitch fibers and stuff like that. A lot of the anaerobic stuff. So when you're doing like your shorter races, especially, comes in handy.
It definitely helps.
Yeah. And I play as a winger. I run 5 to 8 kilometers in a match.
Yeah. And you're one of the guys that always
I'm
is
always
running.
running.
Yeah.
Like I'll sprint up the field, and then someone loses a ball, and because the team isn't as fit as I am, they expect me to run back. So I'm up near the goalkeeper's box on the opposite end and then sprint back 80 metres and get the ball.
Yeah.
Like, I remember a player very specifically, it was like the 85th minute, like in the last like 5 or so minutes of the game, right? And I remember we were playing at Eastwood Oval, I remember vividly, and we lost the ball. I was, once again, up like near the goalkeeper's area on the opposite end. We lost the ball. The ball was like then like pinged over towards our like where our goalkeeper is, like our goal box, and I just sprinted back and run past and then marked this guy who like they were about to ping the ball over to, and the guy was like, and I quote, "How the fuck did you get back here so quickly this far into the game?" And I was just like, mate, I do running outside of football as well.
Did you give him your PBs and stuff like that? Like, sun run.
I was like, let me rattle off my accomplishments for you.
He's just walking away I shouldn't have asked.
But he couldn't believe that I had the fitness to still like sprint back like so late in the match. And the point is that the running.
I was waiting for it.
Yes, the point is that
What's
the running
the
with the football and the running you do outside of football, like they do correlate with each other as well. Even if it's not directly related, you're still getting kilometers into the legs. Yeah. You're still,
So you're recommending our listeners just play football and train as well?
If they love football, then why not? As long as they're not getting injured as much as I am, then I don't see why not.
Yeah, true.
That's true. You did pick up.
I get targeted because of my speed and stuff like that. People hate the fact that I'm more fit than them. It's facts. The amount of time I've been elbowed in the ribs and had fractured ribs because people didn't like I ran after the ball quicker than them.
Are you just adding that last part yourself? Or?
No, I can rattle off all the breaks I've had in football.
No, I'm just saying, did they do that because...
Yeah, I came from behind running past them, and as I ran past them, they swung the elbow like that out at me.
Okay.
Yeah. It was pretty targeted.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't get also more targeted than jumping up for a header and the guy comes up with his elbow and hits you in the nose.
How many injuries do you reckon you've had from football?
Like decent ones? About 8. Like decent ones. Like I cop knocks almost every
That's why I
week
don't
when
play football.
Yeah.
Mm.
So like
I
everyone who
reckon
plays football.
because when I played for UTS,
Yeah.
that team, it's fun, it's really fun. But when you start doing a bit more running, it's hard to it's hard to justify because you just it's easy to get injured.
Yeah, very
pretty
easy to
much.
get injured.
It is definitely easy to get injured.
And everyone who plays football has like been injured pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Most people stop playing because they're getting too injured.
I'm also very stubborn, so even when I get injured, I still play and just make it that much more worse. Like, I still played half a game on the snap ligament foot and then went to work and walked on it for 6
Oh,
and a
you
half
did
hours.
this and you're talking about, I'm like, Adrian, you're an idiot.
Yeah, I am. Fact, like 100%. I know I'm an idiot. I'm too stubborn for my own good
And you can self-diagnose almost.
Yeah.
So it's even worse.
I can actually technically diagnose someone provisionally.
No, yourself. You're like, you know
and
you've hurt
myself.
yourself and you're still like...
Yeah.
I know exactly what I've done. I just keep going. I get in a special mentality when I play football.
Oh, football, yeah. Football.
With football
And watching football.
And watching football.
Yeah.
I'm bad.
It's like...
I'm bad.
It's like a demon possesses you.
If people think I'm bad in this podcast, they ain't seen nothing yet.
Don't watch it. When you watch the NRL, even Zach McCann's like, I don't know if I can deal with... I honestly don't know if I can.
I'm bad with the NRL, but that's tame in comparison.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty bad.
Yeah. It's like, you just get very excited.
I do. I get carried away.
Passionate individual.
It's one word for it. Yeah, very much so.
Tell me about being a paramedic. So tell us...
We covered off like a little bit already.
We covered off a little bit how you
got started and nursing and stuff.
Yeah, how you sort of went through it, but like you didn't go through the most traditional path to get to being a paramedic. So like
definitely not.
So normally when you finish HSC, if you got the mark, you go straight into paramedicine.
Yeah, you can. First problem there is normally, and if you couldn't tell, I'm far from normal.
No, but it's a good story because people write themselves off if they don't get a good mark.
I think there's a very unhealthy mentality with the HSC being the be all end all of like a lot of career choices, and then people then as a result, and Weeby's covered this in his book, going into uni unnecessarily if that's not the career that they want to do.
True.
And obviously that's his story to tell, but I knew I needed to go to uni. But I hated school with a passion. I just didn't like. I don't like studying in general unless it's really things that I'm specifically interested in. Yeah. And then I do my own study.
It's kind of like a weird time in your life as well, like school to be studying as well, and like have all this pressure on you to perform, and in this very like niche sort of thing that it's knowledge that you might not really need or enjoy learning about.
It's tough when you find yourself not interested in a few subjects, and you've got to like dedicate so much time to it as well. Yeah. And you're kind of like, it's like it's hard to sort of get your mind. But some people definitely, I guess, just like say, screw it, like let's just knuckle down and do it. But I think what you're talking about is people thinking it's the be all and end all, puts all this pressure.
And it's really not.
Yeah,
like I'm living proof of
exactly.
And I'm yes, there are some things about it that I probably could have done a lot better, but I'm proud of the pathway I've come. I think it's definitely made me the person I am today. And the paramedic I am today from going through all that.
For sure.
But
you'd already done all through school volunteering.
So I started around September, October of 2008. So we were in year 8 at the time. I started volunteering with St John then.
Is this when they got you with the siren?
Correct. Well, they got me a bit earlier in the year, but yeah.
So was it St John or New South Wales
No,
Ambulance?
St John.
Yeah.
So St John actually has ambulances as well.
Yeah.
Obviously they don't use them always rarely in the same way that New South Wales Ambulance does. They'll then use them that way in like a major event when they need the extra resources and stuff. But we still use it out in events and that. Or for promoting things and stuff. And we had a couple of members in St John who went to my school. And
do they normally go around to like schools? Is that?
Well, sometimes. Nowadays especially, they are doing that kind of stuff. Like they are going around schools, teaching first aid and doing a bit of promoting with St John.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing a lot less back then. But because the members were at the
Try
school.
not to touch the.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's
Because the members were at the school. They brought the ambulance in for the open day that we had. And, being an intrigued 13-year-old, I was like, oh, okay, I'll go over and have a look. And, I've always been a bit mischievous and adventurous. So I was like, can I get inside? They're like, yep. I was like, can I turn on the beacons, like the lights? And they're like, yep.
Is it on the top?
So there's like so when you're sort of looking at the dash, you've got like the dash, and then just above it, there's like another bar. There's like another bar where basically there's a bunch of little flick switches, and those are where like the beacons are and like all the lights, work lights and everything like that. And so I hit the beacons, and then I asked them, of course, if I could do the siren, and they're like, yeah. So I flicked the siren, and it was like a light bulb went off.
You were sold. That's it.
Instantly sold. I don't know what it was, but right then and there, I was like, "This is what I want to do."
And you're not kidding as well.
Like, no bullshit. No bullshit. It was literally like a light bulb moment. I was like, right there and there, I was like, I'm being a paramedic. I was like, this is too cool to pass up. Obviously, didn't know the extent in which what paramedics do, but I was like, I always loved helping people. Always been sort of a caring person and that. So, and then that just flicked the spark and flicked the switch. Created the spark and that was in April. And then, but like I was you wouldn't think now, but I was quite a shy young teenager. Wasn't really all that out there. So I was a bit nervous to actually join St John, being such a massively social thing and everything. So I waited almost half a year to about September, October before I joined. Mum and Dad, eventually convinced me to join. And then I never left.
You haven't messed, like, I've obviously known you all this time, and you have duties on Wednesday.
Our meeting nights,
Meeting nights, sorry, not duties, meeting
That's
nights
right,
are on Wednesday.
Yep.
And it's like church. He doesn't, you haven't, you don't miss them.
I'm like, I'd be more religious than a religious person when it comes to St John.
100%.
Like I just prior to going on road as a paramedic, I think I'd missed about 6 meetings in the entire time I'd been there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we meet weekly through school terms every year.
But you started off as a cadet.
Yep.
And then what's the progression within St. John?
So you can get promoted as cadets, sort of like, a bit more of a leadership thing as youth. So there's cadet corporal and cadet sergeant, which I ended up doing both. I was pretty lucky that I joined at an age and was passionate enough that I was able to sort of do one, and then, after a few years, and then being a sergeant. Then once you hit an adult, you either become a member if you're like in the adult side of things, but because I was in a cadet division, I became a cadet leader. So you sort of then start to help teach the cadets and everything like that. And then from there, if then the people above you want to promote you, then you can get promoted to officer. So St John sort of does it backwards in the sense of like grade 6 officer is the lowest level of officer, then it goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then obviously the commissioner after that. Eventually got promoted to grade 6 officer, and then 5, which is usually like your second in charge of a division.
Uh-huh.
And then obviously this is going over many years. It's not just like rapid fire. Like I was never for the promotions. Like I appreciated them, and it was great. I've always loved teaching people, helping people, and stuff like that. So it was good to have the rank. So there's a bit more respect involved when trying to teach people. But I never cared for it specifically. It wasn't really my thing. I just wanted to help people. So,
so what do they? what do they begin to teach you? So it's obviously first aid.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just like literally just basic first aid to start with. Obviously as you become older, you can do other courses and whatnot and sort of like pick up some more knowledge and expertise. But literally just basic first aid, like you provide first aid that you would do, if you're in the community type thing, you go and do a course. So we do that, and then we sort of have our own other things as well, like manual handling, like lifting with spine boards and stretchers and stuff like that, and setting up posts and running events and all that. So we kind of add to the first aid thing with how we would be doing things if we're out at events, and sort of each week just hone in on a different subject. So we might do CPR one week, we might do airway another week, manual handling another week, and sort of just keep rolling through all sort of like the different first aid topics throughout the year. So
Yeah. And then
yeah,
when do you start going on duty?
basically straight away.
Straight away?
Really?
More or less. So once my membership was, so it took about, so you had to show up for 4 meetings, and then like to show that you're actually keen to actually do it, so that way they weren't processing memberships unnecessarily. So after I showed up for my 4 weeks, they processed my membership, which took a couple of weeks. And once I was a member, I think I started almost instantly. Can't remember explicitly how quickly, but it was pretty soon after. In the first year I was there, I think I did something like 120 duty hours or something like that.
Wow, that's a lot.
On top of obviously going to school full time and all the rest of it. So,
But this is obviously something that's also getting you out of your own shell as well.
Oh, for sure. I think a lot of my confidence.
What year were you?
2008 I joined.
So, okay.
It would have been
year 8?
Year 8. So it would have been probably, close to... close to the end of the year before I went on duties, obviously with the time frame of becoming a member.
Process,
And by the time it rolled over to the next year, like towards the end of the next year, I'd done well over 100 hours.
Yeah.
I was hooked the second I went out. I started off from the lowest of low. First 3 duties, all I did was write paperwork. Didn't even touch a person to treat them. But
So the first few events that you did was more just paperwork and stuff? Or?
Yeah, just paperwork. Watch the other members treat. Just try and learn visually to start with, and then as you sort of build up your confidence and your knowledge, and they then allow you to start treating people.
Okay.
It's not always specifically how you do it. Like you can treat on your first event, like you're obviously qualified to do so. I was 13.
You want to have a bit of experience.
I understand their reluctancy to let a 13-year-old who's been in St. John for a very, very short amount of time to start treating someone who's decently unwell.
I think if you're having a heart attack, you don't.
Get the 13. Get him out of here.
We need the 13-year-old.
No, the guy's having a heart attack. Looks at you like, what the?
Yeah, just as he's going down, he sees me. He's like, now I'm definitely dead.
Forget it. Leave me alone.
You go through the process of, and paperwork is a really, really important thing in the health industry. You really need to document everything, and you need to do it well. So I wasn't unhappy with doing that. I thought it was a great way to sort of hone in on that skill and then get into the person thing. But you learn so much good communication through there.
Yeah.
I think that's where a lot of my confidence has come up, because I'm just constantly talking to people.
Yeah,
all
which
the time.
you're very fond of.
Well, now it's just become habit. Now I can't stop talking. It's almost the opposite.
So when did you start interacting with patients? And do you have any duties you remember early on that were maybe intense, or I don't know, maybe not, or just one particular duty you remember?
I'd never really had extremely, extremely unwell people early in my St. John career. I use career obviously is the unpaid version of a career. Just
still counts.
Just easier to say. But I remember doing City to Surf. I did City to Surf each year, volunteering.
That'd be
pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's good because we were at the post. Where the 1.5k to go mark is before the downhill at the bus stop there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where we were set up. So our division actually held the post there each year.
Right.
For I think about 10 odd years. It was a long time. We were there every year. So you obviously see quite a few people coming in injury, like, rolled ankles, falling over, they've smacked their face on something, they're bleeding from the face.
Jeez.
People having low blood sugar levels, whether they're diabetic or not, like they're just sort of exhausted their sugar levels, all sorts of different stuff. There was always a cardiac arrest at the Caesar Surf each year, but I was never specifically involved in them. Actually, I've done Caesar Surf probably about 12 times, and I don't think I've ever had it. I've never dealt with the cardiac arrest there.
Yeah. Is that something you look out for?
No. I'm actually kind of glad, to be honest. Okay. Look, I'm one who, like, my method of learning and remembering, like, knowledge and skills and stuff like that, I know it takes me a little bit longer to really hone in on the exact art that is that skill or the exact specifics of that knowledge. But once I get it, I remember it and I don't forget it. So I do like to just sort of take my time with learning things as well. So I don't, yes, usually when I get thrown in the deep end, I can swim, but I much prefer to just take my time and sort of just walk into the water rather than being dropped from a helicopter, if you know what I mean.
I think that, I don't know, that's like underrated. Everyone kind of just wants to be thrown in the deep end a little bit, like, and just show that, like, oh yeah, I can do this, I'm the best. But there's something to just taking your time and learning a skill from the start and being a beginner at something that, I don't know, it's pretty valuable.
I've never been ashamed of being a beginner or not the best at something or anything. Like, I'm my own worst enemy. I'm the most competitive with myself.
You also get in your head as well.
I do get in my own head
like
a lot
all of
as
us,
well.
obviously.
And sometimes it can be my own enemy, for sure. I've definitely gotten a lot better at it over the years, and like become more wary of why I'm reacting the way I am and all the rest of it. But I never did St. John to boost my ego or to flaunt any skills or like show that I can do any form of leadership. Like, I did it because I want to care for people and I wanted to become an AMBO. So I was like, great that I get promoted and all the rest of it, but I don't need to start throwing out my accolades just for the sake of doing it, or like taking a position just because it's there. Like, I could have been in charge of my division years and years ago, and I didn't want to do it because I was like, it's not right for me at this stage. I'm young, I don't have any business background of any sort to run a division.
But then you got thrust into that position.
I did.
So
I did. A little bit later in my St. John career. So a bit older, a bit wiser.
When was it?
That would have been approximately June or July of 2021.
Okay.
About 2.5 years now I've been in charge, but I am stepping down from the role.
Yeah.
It's been good while it lasted, but I think it's probably about time.
You got a full plate.
I'm pretty full plate. You boys know I'm out bush for work at the moment, so trying to travel 6 hours to come back for a meeting every week or every fortnight is a bit ridiculous. So, and then also just casually running the division as well. So it makes it difficult. You can't communicate as well with your team. Sometimes when you really need to do something, get back to emails and this and that, I'm on the job.
Yeah.
Like, I get thrown on a job that takes 8 hours, 10 hours. And it's like, there's this pertinent thing for St. John to do, but I'm also actively trying to save someone's life. And it's like,
you can't.
You can't. And then like, you get back from the job, you want to sleep. And then you're trying to push through sleep deprivation to do the St. John stuff. And then you get called to another job and you haven't rested at all. And then you're back on another job. It's a bit much. So I decided to step down. So I'll still be a member. So I'll still stay at St. Johnny. Just I just won't be in charge. I think it's about time. I've done, 2.5 years is a good stint. One of the longest reigns per se of being in charge in the last sort of decade or two. So other than I think one person. So
well, you put a lot into that division, that's for sure. So
yeah. I mean, the hours I do outside of just meeting every week or going on events, it'd be in the hundreds.
Yeah.
The amount of email, I get 50 plus emails a day.
What is it? Admin stuff?
Yeah, lots of admin stuff, liaising about grants, trying to organise vehicles, trying to organise, and also trying to keep the politics out of the division as well. There is a lot of politics sort of the further you go up St. John, and I'm not necessarily saying in a bad way, but there is a lot of politics. We're like the largest first aid organisation in the country. We've got a really good reputation and they don't want to ruin it. So there is a lot of politics involved with, being careful about certain things, and obviously when people's egos and a bit of narcissism sort of gets thrown into the mix as well, it becomes a bit tricky. So trying to sift that out so it doesn't go past me for the most part is like one of my jobs.
Yeah.
You know, if I have to cop a bit of abuse with emails and stuff like that, so be it. You know, if it means that no one else is privy of it, it doesn't really bother me. So, there's a lot of that. Helping organise training, running some of the training, helping out at events. I still go out at events and volunteer and stuff like that. So, like, there's a fair bit that I do.
So, moving, from a different point of view other than St. John's. So when you get into like your nursing, how does that take a different step? Like obviously the role's very different. You're somewhat more hands-on, or you're caring for a broader range of people. Yeah. So where did you start with nursing?
I started in orthopedic rehab. So orthopedic is basically got to do with bones, and then obviously rehab, rehabilitation. So we got a lot of people who had like hip surgeries, knee surgeries, multiple fractured bones who couldn't go straight back out to home. A lot of it was an elderly population, usually sort of above 65. There were some younger ones as well, but most of the time it was that. There were at Ryde Hospital there is a hydrotherapy pool as well, so a lot of them would go into there because it's just less pressure walking around and everything. So I think it was a really, really good start. I wanted to hone in just on my basic nursing skills. It's sort of like what I did with St. John when I first started, was just honing in on that very, very basic stuff. I want to do the same with nursing. Excuse me. Obviously, I was keen. I knew I wanted to be a paramedic. So I did apply, obviously, to be an emergency.
Why does you can't just go straight into paramedicine? Nursing's the first step.
So we can jump back a touch. So, mad disclaimer, got an asterisk in my HSC, so below 30.
Do they?
Yep. So I actually asked for a number, even though it was below 30, and they said we can't give you one, and I was like, sweet as.
How was the whole James Bond series?
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was good.
I did watch. Well, at that time, so in 2012. Every single James Bond movie in the lead up to the HSE.
Die another day, mate.
You only live twice. I
just chucked you well under the bus.
Oh, you did? Oh, facts. I don't care. Like I own it I own it. Like I copped it on the chin.
Yeah.
Not necessarily my proudest moment, but at that stage, I already decided what difference is it really going to make at this point. I was a couple of months away at the most from doing my HSC, and I was like, well, I'm not going to really come back from 2 years of not doing anything throughout year 11 and 12 and then suddenly just miraculously get 97 in an ATAR. Yeah. So I was
do you know what the mark you need?
At the top.
At the time? Yeah, at the time.
I think it was about 75, roughly, I think, give or take. They at that point, they were really in need of paramedics.
Right.
So they lowered it.
So they were lowering the ATAR so they could try and get more people in.
Yeah.
Is ATAR still a thing now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
It used to be something else.
Might be called,
It used to be called something.
It's in the same concept.
It is exact same situation. They just, decided to rename it and rebrand it type thing, but it's the same thing. Got an asterisk, sweet as. So obviously I was like, well, not going to get straight in, am I? So I didn't really know. At that stage, I truthfully didn't really know what to do.
That's tough.
It's a bit,
I remember.
High school wasn't exactly an easy time for me either. I was a bit of an easy target being, an Italian from North Ryde where most people were, white people from the beaches. Big nose, this and that, got picked on left, right and centre.
I do.
And I did, you also contributed a bit. That's not but you did it out of like friendship and everything like that, which was fine. Where a lot of these people were doing it to just make themselves feel better and bring me down.
It's a fine line there.
There's a very fine line, and I joke around, but no, none of what you said affected me. It was fine, I got bullied heaps. I was always going difficult time mentally as well. Still trying to discover who I was and everything, and it was it was a bit of a shit time, if I'm being honest. Mental health is probably the lowest I've ever had it. And I sort of struggled through those years. So once we turned 18, I quite literally would have been classed as an alcoholic. Besides the fact I was going out clubbing every time I was drinking. Like, I wasn't drinking at home by myself or anything, but I was going out clubbing 5 nights a week.
I was holding your hand through that as well.
You definitely would.
I think everyone was
You definitely helped contribute to that. But
it's so like crazy. That's like the culture though. Like everyone's doing that, and like, you're weird if you're not doing it almost.
Yeah.
But
If you have,
there's no other option because everyone else around you, your whole friend group or everyone outside your friend group, all your peers are going out and
it's a good way to hide your underlying insecurities.
Oh, for sure, and,
especially at that time.
Yeah, 100%. And when I started going through the shit times, like I was somehow able to grab my hands on alcohol, and my brain then just associated that with helping deal with all the shit that was happening. Yeah. I also was quite still socially awkward at that point. As much as I was sort of slowly coming out of my shell, I was still quite socially awkward, trying to be able to converse, especially at that age. You're thinking about getting in with people and this and that, like finding partners and stuff. So, I just associated the alcohol with settling the anxieties and everything like that as you go through the teenager.
It does a good job at that.
It does
in the moment. Yeah.
In the moment, it's fantastic, and every other resulting thing is not great in the slightest. But in saying that, so after school, just I was going out all the time. Parents were like, all right, come on, you got to get a job or something at least if you're not going to do any study for the minute. So I was like, all right. And got a job
across the road.
Initially got a job across the road doing car washing, but I was just going out and partying, and I was terrible.
Yeah,
it
lasted 2 days.
I had 3 shifts and they never messaged me back. So, I get along with the guy just fine. I see him all the time. I know I was a terrible employee.
That was like my stint at the fish shop.
Yeah,
this guy's not gonna last.
For sure,
not gonna last.
Yeah, no, and you're still maturing.
$8 an hour or something.
Yeah, it was
it's not worth
absolute minimum wage.
I'll just live with my parents.
Yeah, we were all living with our parents.
Yeah, no, as in like you're like...
but yeah, then left that one, and then one of my cousins works as a mechanic, and they got a car wash thing at the mechanic, so I ended up going to that one. In the meantime, the football season was starting, so I was starting to get into that. I remember the Monday was a public holiday. I worked 4 shifts from the Tuesday through Friday. On the Saturday, I played football and snapped my upper arm in 2.
Oh, jeez.
You and your brothers have you and your young brother have a good history with broken bones.
But like it was
that was a bad one.
Challenge. So basically, I'm running down the sideline, and this guy was charging up. He's double my size.
He was obviously upset because you were too fast. Like
he was targeting me because he was like in his 30s, and I was like
you're
fresh
making
18.
This is the voices.
What are you talking about? You weren't even there.
Continue.
You weren't even there. So, and Dad was there actually, so he can verify.
Yeah.
So anyway, running down the sideline, this guy was just charging at me. I tapped the ball forward and jumped to avoid the slide tackle.
I remember
and
this.
he's raised his boots and actually swiped my feet out from my
Oh yeah, it was bad.
And so I fell from about 2 meters high and landed straight on that.
Was I there?
No.
Yeah.
No, it was only Dad that was there. But I don't know if I hit his boot or hit something, or I just landed really hard on the ground and a bit awkwardly, but the bone basically on the x-ray was like yay. So like sitting like completely separate to the other part.
Like compound.
Your brother had an
atrocious... No, it wasn't compound, so it was still in the skin, but it was heavily deformed.
Yeah, your brother had one where his wrist came up to like there when we were jumping on a trampoline.
No, he was trying to do a slam dunk.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's one story.
Yeah. I remember, but let's keep on course. Come on,
gotta keep on course.
You're not known for drifting.
No,
so you break your arm.
So I break your arm.
Yeah.
So obviously had to quit the job because I was like,
you can't wash cars. Yeah. Jeez.
I was in a cast for 2 months, from shoulder through to past elbow. I remember very vividly because I literally wasn't allowed to exercise or anything because they were like any movement and like it'll potentially displace it and you'll have to go into surgery. So I wasn't allowed to do any form of exercise other than like just the squeeze ball things just to sort of keep blood flow. Put on a little bit of weight. And have this one to thank for burger flipping me one day to walks past me and he's like
you still remember that?
I still remember, and like I wasn't really motivated enough to try and get fit again. That definitely helped.
I don't think I was a good person.
See the common trend here.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
So anyway, in the meantime, obviously I couldn't really do anything. So Mum was like, well, why don't you try studying something? I was like, all right, no worries. So sat down with Mum and we're just going through some courses and stuff and found a certificate 3 to become an AAN, so an assistant in nursing.
Yeah.
Basically all just personal care, showering, feeding, all that kind of jazz with just your basic observations like your blood pressure, your pulse, all that kind of stuff. Saw that at TAFE, at North Sydney TAFE there on Pacific Highway. And I was like, well, what else am I doing? So did that in the meantime. So that was the second half of 2013, so first year out of school. I was like, well, I'm not getting into any other course, so I might as well do this one. So did that, and then once I finished that, then I applied for nursing and paramedicine. Couldn't get the paramedicine, but got into nursing. So I got into my Bachelor of Nursing. And then, so we've sort of gone through that little bit of the Bachelor of Nursing sort of side. So 3-year course, worked at a nursing home in the meantime.
Did you know once you do nursing that you can get into
I had a strong suspicion that like with my St. John background, doing the AIN stuff and then doing the nursing, I was a decent chance of getting into the course.
Yeah.
Right.
Even with my shocking ATAR. So
at that point. Yeah.
I mean, really, like, obviously, like, if I'm taking all these routes to get there, I'm obviously going to be motivated enough to not only do the course, but complete it and be a good paramedic.
Well, you're going to have to do study in that domain anyway.
Yep, so. And they're going to see that, oh, well, he's actually completing courses.
Yeah.
And yes,
how are your results? Were your results okay? Or?
Oh, look, P's get degrees.
Yeah.
Is something I was always...
Okay.
Look, I always strive for HD.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Like I'd always look at the HD criteria and try to do my work to that. Look, I'm not the most literate person. I'm not an English major. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not. Yeah.
No, I'm good at talking.
Yeah.
I'm good with my words, but when it comes to putting them on paper, I'm terrible.
Right.
Other than like writing emails and stuff, I'm half okay. But
I've read a draft of.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. You're pretty good at writing.
I'm okay. Like I definitely have gotten better the more I've done it, but especially at that point, like I was terrible. I never paid attention to English. I hated English with a passion. Teachers hated me, so it was pretty mutual, which was fine. I was like, no harm done. I was a terrible student, so they just didn't like me. So I was like, fair.
Yeah.
Then finally, when I finished my nursing, applied for paramedicine.
But you managed to get through the 3 years, like in the actual 3 years.
Yeah.
Not like me
Didn't
doing
fail
7
any
years
subjects.
No, correct.
IT degree.
No, correct. So, so I did it full time, passed all my subjects, even if it was only scraping by, still passed. So I did them all. Yeah, I did the degree continuous. I knew that this was my pathway to paramedicine.
Yeah. So you had the you could see why you're studying.
Yep.
So you had.
I had the motivation to do it.
Yeah.
I still would hand assignments in 2 minutes before they were due.
But
But I was still handing them in on time.
You knew that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah. And
like Don was saying, in HSC, like it's very murky why you're studying sometimes. Like
yeah,
you're not,
definitely.
because you're not sure what your next step is realistically.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't know what they want to do at that stage, which is 100% okay. Like it's fine.
Most, right?
I consider myself very, very fortunate that I did know what I wanted to do at that stage. And I never use that to gloat, but I always do like to say that like I was very fortunate with it, but I also didn't go the cliche route, and I really had to push myself to get there.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you found your interest, just like for example running. Like we don't necessarily choose that. You don't always choose that you want to be interested in running.
Yeah.
Or something. It kind of like, but it's good that you identified it.
You're always going to have your ups and downs. Like you're always going to find sometimes you just go, oh, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's
just
not
like on a run. You go, oh, do I have to go on this run It's pissing down outside. It's cold. It's like 3 degrees in the middle of winter. You go, do I have to fucking go out? You know, and then you go, you know what? But I love it.
Yeah.
I love doing it. There's a bigger goal in mind. You got to push through the bad to get to the good.
And I'm not saying
nursing was bad, but as in like nursing was a big hurdle I had to overcome to get to paramedicine.
Yeah.
And so that's what I knew. I had the end goal in mind. And so I was motivated to do it. I actually was quite fortunate. I actually liked nursing for a lot of it.
Yeah, I remember when you sort of, me observing you from the outside, you sort of like definitely, I could see you were a lot more motivated and you had a different sort of purpose. And you were always definitely motivated in St. John's.
Yep.
But yeah, I was there through, you know, when we were coming out of school and stuff like that. And I was very similar. So, but yeah, I definitely noticed that.
Yeah. Look, I was always motivated to do it. You know, there were massive hurdles as we've gone through a few of them, but you know, made my way through slowly but surely. So by this stage, I finished my nursing end of 2016. Qualified with Bachelor of Nursing. Then obviously you go through the application process in the meantime of trying to get into a job, into nursing. In the meantime, I applied for paramedicine and I was lucky enough I got in. So it was a postgraduate degree with a background of registered nursing. So
Is that another 2 years?
Yeah. So initially I thought it was full-time, but they say full-time in the sense of there's only 8 subjects, but you have to do it part-time because some subjects are prerequisites for others.
Right.
So you had to do it part-time. So I tried to figure out the quickest way to get it done pretty much, or the way to sort of tackle most of it as quick as possible. Which basically meant I did 3 subjects in the first semester of first year, 3 in the second, and then 1
That's pretty good.
in the second year. So that way my workload was a lot less in the second year. So started at beginning of 2017, and then in May of 2017 started working full time as a nurse. That was the year that I averaged basically no sleep the entire year.
Yeah. That's when you started doing night shifts.
Yeah.
And was that your first experience with night shifts?
Yep. First experience with night shifts. So you don't do it straight away when you go in. So you start on like morning shifts, so you're with an educator and everything, and then you eventually transition to an afternoon shift. So there's still more staff around and everything like that to sort of give you a guiding hand. And then sort of after about a month or 2, or maybe a little bit more, they start putting you on the night shift roster as well. And yeah, started night shifts probably about mid-year, I reckon, give or take. They're a whole different beast.
Fuck yeah.
Those night shifts are...
Yeah, Dom's talking about night shifts.
Yeah. Like, they're just different beasts. Like, you know, and a lot of people hear, you know, nurses and other healthcare professionals, everyone go like, oh man, I got night shift tonight. But they don't really understand how taxing the night shifts can really be.
It sucks.
You know, like, yeah, okay, you can stay up all night partying and stuff like that, but you got no cognitive overload. Like you're out, you're partying, you're just enjoying yourself. You don't have to think about anything other than maybe which pub you're going to next, right? Like, where, you know, you're there, you're working, you have to be so switched on because you have to make sure you get everything right. You know, people's lives are at stake. Like, you know, even with engineering, if you fuck something up, then people's lives are at stake, right? So it's a different capacity, but the same principle. So you really got to make sure that you're switched on, and your brain trying to work that hard at a time of the day where you're meant to be sleeping is really, really difficult and definitely takes its toll.
How did you first adjust?
Well, I mean, I was basically not sleeping anyway. So I actually adjusted not too bad. I think the hardest thing with night shifts, especially when you start, is trying to figure out what works best for you. Is the biggest thing. Do I nap it beforehand, or do I just sleep in longer? You know, what do I do with my food? When do I eat? What kind of food do I have through the night, if any? All that kind of stuff. How do I hydrate for it? Caffeine is a big one.
Yeah.
A lot of people pump caffeine. Nurses are known for their caffeine. So like, you know, there's a lot of different factors, and really just sort of honing it. And everyone works differently. Everyone's going to have their own little niche that works best for them. I've never really been much of a napping kind of person, but before night shifts, I love to get a good hour, if possible, beforehand. That just helps, you know, relax my brain before I get it, you know, into work. And I know some people are the same. They try and, you know, have a quick nap before they go to work. But at that stage, I was up anyway. I was studying a ridiculous amount because I was like, well, now I'm in paramedicine. I was like, this is my last massive hurdle in the sense of to become qualified. So, yeah, I was doing that, working full time, still volunteering with St. John all the time. I was playing football, socialising like an idiot.
Yeah.
No, I was like, it's just call a spade a spade. So, I averaged 2 to 4 hours sleep a night consistently for about 7 or 8 months.
I have no idea how you did
a night.
crazy.
And that's average. Some nights would just be no sleep and continue through. Some would be, you have a quick half an hour nap. Sort of a half-ish routine I got into whilst I was doing that was I'd say for a morning shift you start at 7 o'clock, right? So I'd be up at 6 o'clock, get ready for work, have breakfast, get ready for work, go to work 7 o'clock, work 7 till 3:30 technically. I'd finish all my work by 1 o'clock, go have lunch, come out, and as long as the patients are okay, I'd be starting to study my paramedicine at work, go home, go for a run, come back, shower, study, dinner, study, snack at midnight, study, and I'd be up at least till 2 in the morning.
Jeez.
And then repeat.
No, thank you.
That was, and obviously changed depending on which shifts I were on and if I had other things organised.
Were you doing anything to were you taking any breaks or?
No.
Yeah.
No, not really.
Did it catch, when did it catch up?
Well, I was kind of glad with the doing almost all the subjects in the first year. I only really had to do it for that first year.
Yeah.
Because then I only had one subject in the semester the following year, and then the second semester the same. So it was really for only that sort of like from May through to about November that I really had to do it. So I really just did that, and then I was able to relax at the end of the year, knowing that I'd sort of finished the study for the year. So no, there wasn't really any time for relaxing. I was too motivated to do it. I just went, fuck it. You can't be a little bitch now and just back out. I was like, you just got to get in there and do it. And that mentality can sometimes bite me in the bum, but for the most part motivates me to keep pushing on. So that's what I did. So anyway, enough blabbering about that. So we move forward a touch, finish.
You get your paramedicine degree.
Get my paramedicine degree.
What was that like?
Proudest moment of my life. By far.
Yeah.
Getting up on that stage and getting my certificate was the biggest, the most, how do I describe it? So, yes, I've been really, really happy before, obviously, but it was also a sense of fulfillment, accomplishment, and everything like that. It was, I can't even get the words. I can't describe.
It was the realizing of.
I just went.
All that-
I
all
got
that
there and I got
studying.
my certificate. And I turned to the camera. I went, "Holy fuck! I just qualified." In my head, obviously.
Yeah.
Because I was in front of an audience of about 500 people, so I had to be careful what I said. But yeah, I just went oh, I'm a paramedic. I was like,
Yeah.
holy crap! I actually got here.
Yeah.
For going a road of not studying through any of the HSC, all the shit with the mental health, breaking bones, studying at TAFE, then doing a Bachelor of Nursing, then doing my paramedicine. It just kept going on, right?
Yeah.
So when I got there, I was like, are they sure? Sure it's not something else I have to do? I was like, I didn't know what... truth be told, the next day, sat down at my desk and I was like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
I've been flogging myself for so long. I was like, I don't have to study anymore. I was
Well, then you're-
at uni, right?
Yeah.
I was like, I've done my, maybe if down the track I want to do a degree, sure. But
Was that a scary feeling or?
there was in the sense of I just didn't know what to do with myself. I was a little bit lost in the sense of going, okay, well, I've got it. Now what do I do? I was like, I was a bit lost, and so I was sort of a bit worried. I wouldn't say I was necessarily scared.
Yeah.
Sort of worried about what I do next. I was so focused on getting to that end line. It was like, well, what's next?
Yeah.
So
Because you had that goal propelling you forward for all those
That's
years and
the
years.
motivation to
Yeah.
keep
quite
going.
literally a decade.
Yeah.
It took me to when I started St. John to finishing my degree.
Yeah. jeez.
2008 I started St. John. 2018 I qualified as a paramedic. So yeah,
It's not too bad though. Like,
it's not too bad.
all
Look,
things
and there was
considered.
school in between and stuff like that. So you know, like it's
Well,
not too bad.
yeah, like I finished my degree I think 2017. So you only like 1 extra year is not that bad at all.
Yeah. And, you know, like, you know, look, 5 years studying, I didn't mind. Actually, I didn't mind the whole uni vibe.
Yeah.
Because I knew, like, I had to be there.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, because I had a goal in mind, I knew I had to be there. I just tried to enjoy uni for what it was.
Yeah.
You know, I still went out and partied like an idiot. You know, I still caught up with friends and all the rest of it, but I still had that goal in mind. So, yeah. So I got to there, and I was like, what do I do now? So, yeah, and then applied obviously to get into a job for New South Wales Ambulance. Got rejected. I don't know how their recruitment system works, so I can't say whether they looked at resumes or they didn't, or what they took into
So you didn't get
consideration
to
or
an
not.
interview?
Didn't even get to an interview. So they apply, like you apply, and then they select people for an interview, and then from there, then they cull again, and then choose those to go through, basically. The problem was with that first year as well was that Queensland didn't open up their ambulance service to any applications. So all the Queensland ambulance, plus the New South Wales ones, plus obviously anyone else from anywhere else, applied for New South Wales. So we had 2,000 applicants for 300 jobs.
Jeez.
Give or take, right? So, you know, with an ATAR like mine, so if that's what they looked at, was probably not going to be anything in my favour. So, obviously, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but at the time, I was like, well, I got the degree, why am I getting the job? I've been told for years that they need paramedics, and now I'm not getting the job. No bullshit, that actually ruined one of my relationships with the only girlfriend who wasn't completely crazy.
I'll steer you away from this topic.
I was like, how do I put this not so rudely? Yeah, you know, look, I've had good relationships and bad relationships. I'm not going to get into it because there's no point dwelling on it. It's
a running podcast.
Useless. It's a running podcast. It's not a therapy session. So yeah. So
We've had lots of offline chats.
But you know, I did have a nice, healthy relationship, and not knowing how to deal with that at the time was quite difficult. And it did ruin the relationship. And you know, I do wish her all the best. Like, I got nothing against her, but we're at very, very different stages, and I was going through just too much to, I didn't want to drag her through the mud, so I decided that probably about time I end it, and I was like, well, now I really need to reevaluate how I'm going to sort of go about things and sort of see what I'm going to do from here. In the meantime, I got into emergency at Ryde Hospital, so I was like, okay, well, now this is an avenue I can try and tackle. I was like, well, maybe if I build up my knowledge and skills through emergency, then it might actually, well, it definitely would help me, but it might help me also get into paramedicine, like into the job. So that's what I did. So, I ended up not getting in the second time, but then I got in the third time. So it did help with...
But you got a little bit further the second time, did you? Or?
No, actually I got the same amount. I did end up getting an interview with Victoria. So I applied...
you flew over. I remember that.
Yeah. So once I didn't get into New South Wales, I actually applied throughout the whole country for both the first and the second year. I applied, and in my second year, I got an interview with Ambulance Victoria. Going there was nice, but the interview didn't go great in the sense of like they were just very rude. I felt I did a little bit better than what they said I did. I agree that maybe I didn't, maybe I shouldn't have gotten the job, fine, but I was like...
interviews are tough.
They're tough, and the interviews they do, like, you really need to be on point, and, the group interview I was contributing and stuff like that.
It's hard when you're, I don't know, I think as well
there was a big drive to try and hire more females in the job because it's a very male-orientated profession. And I've noticed as sort of gone through the process that they have been hiring a lot more females as well, which is 100% fine because they're just as qualified as I am. So, fair play. But it just means it makes it a little bit more difficult for me.
But it's hard when you have so much writing on an interview and you got to make an impression. And then that applies pressure on yourself.
For sure.
And for example, I've interviewed recently and I find you just get nervous, or I do at least, and it makes it hard to.
It's bloody hard.
It makes it hard to
it's
put
not
your
easy.
best version of yourself forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try and crack a joke now at the beginning of an interview.
Yeah.
Just to ease the tension for everybody.
Yeah.
At least with interviews, people expect you to. Most people would expect you to be nervous, but
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and like for basically every interview I've done.
were you
I was nervous.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
And-
that's normal.
yeah,
Like
it's normal, right? It's normal. It's the nerves of wanting to do well,
Yeah.
right? So you want to do well, so you're nervous.
The more you try and psych yourself out of it, the more your physiology just
yeah, and
reacts.
so
And you're like,
yeah. So anyway, interview didn't go all that well. I tried to ask for feedback. They just said you did poorly. So I was like, well, thanks.
I
I
said you
was like,
did poorly. That's not constructive.
I know. I said, can I have some constructive criticism? Oh no, you can't. I was like, well, thank you for your help. And so
That's shattering, considering you flew over to.
yeah, I flew
Victoria.
over to Victoria.
Do they know you
did the
flew
interview
over?
and everything like that? Hey,
Do they know you flew over?
yeah, they knew it from New South Wales.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and they couldn't give two hoots. So I was like, all right, no worries. So basically, at that point, I said, fuck it. I said, I'm not going to apply for any other state. I'm just going to apply for New South Wales, and when I get in, I get in.
Yeah.
Blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
Particularly selfishly for me that
Oh,
you're
look,
not
you know, selfishly.
moved to bloody Victoria.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my friends were very happy I didn't have to move interstate,
Sure.
and obviously family as well. Like, you know, they're happy I didn't have to move interstate. And I was happy personally. Like, you know, obviously all my connections are here. Like, pretty much everybody I know is, you know, in the New South Wales or at least, you know, almost the Greater Sydney region. So, when I got into New South Wales, I was like, hell's yeah, like I can stay here.
Yeah.
So yeah, third year of applying, finally got in.
Now, what was that like? Does that beat
I
the?
couldn't believe it.
Does that beat the certificate moment?
No, you know what, it didn't, I have to say. And obviously it's still great, like I still loved it. It was different. It was very different because now there was the added pressure of going, now I have to go on the road and actually
Now I
keep
have
people
to be a
alive. Like,
paramedic.
yeah.
It was like, I think
I
because
guess it was like almost inevitable. Like once you got your qualification, you're like, okay.
yeah, like, I was like, I'm
Yeah.
eventually going to get on road. So I think there was a little bit less of there was definitely less build up with that. So I feel like it was definitely a sense of accomplishment for sure, but it didn't hit that same thing as getting a certificate.
Yeah.
It hit differently.
Yeah.
I think it hit real proud when, so going through all the interview process and all that kind of jazz, you do fitness tests, your health tests, all that kind of stuff, drug tests, so on and so forth, do all those tests. We go 5 weeks, we go to one of their training centers and we get taught like things we need to do when we go on road. Stop laughing at me. So basically we go through, so at this stage, so it was quite difficult doing this 5 weeks because like I'd finished my degree 3 years prior.
Yeah.
And everyone else in my class had
Fresh
finished their degrees like less than 2 years prior. So, or some had just finished and gone in. So they all had like real fresh paramedic knowledge. And I felt like I'd never done a degree.
It's hard when you have that pressure on you, but you had been working
So
in
I've been
in
working-
emergency as
so
well.
I had a lot of the health background, just
Yeah.
not a lot of the paramedic. Well, none.
But
Basically,
you've been
none of the
working
paramedic
in
background.
emergency though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was working in emergency. So yeah, that stage was 2.5 years almost. Yeah.
So
So
You hadn't been doing nothing. For
no, I hadn't been
2.5
doing nothing. I'd
years.
definitely been honing in, and like I really always tried hard because I knew I was going to get into paramedicine. I was like, if I don't know my stuff,
But just for context, emergency is high pressure.
oh, it is. Don't get me
For-
wrong. I'm not dismissing emergency whatsoever.
Yeah.
Right? Like I learned so much. It's definitely a very high pressure situation, and it definitely had its moments of high pressure for sure.
Yeah, but I'm just pointing to like
Oh no, for
you
sure.
were still,
So
you were still.
I was still definitely like doing things that were like it was the closest job that you can probably have before getting into paramedicine as a like getting a job as a paramedic, right? As an emergency nurse. The only difference between that would be going from Ryde Hospital to like a major trauma hospital was probably the only difference that you could sort of jump to in between.
Obviously, when you start a new job, that self-doubt still
Oh, for sure.
kicks in no matter what. Like you can't convince yourself that it's like you can't just be like, oh no, I've been doing this, so I shouldn't feel this. Like
Yeah,
you
no,
kind of
no.
just-
No. And yeah, as I said before, like I'm always really critical of myself.
Yeah,
right?
you
So
are, yeah.
like I got in there and they were like, so one of the biggest hurdles for me when I got into my induction was in the process of me finishing my degree and getting to the induction was they brought something in called high performance CPR, which basically So back before they brought in high performance CPR, there was less emphasis on cycling through every 2 minutes and swapping out the person who was doing the compressions and stuff. And they've brought in this thing of, one person starts on the compressions, then, you work your way around. So once you swap, so one person's on the life pack, so the defib, checking for certain rhythms and stuff like that, and the other person's doing CPR. Then you swap and you start looking for airways and all that kind of stuff, and you keep swapping every 2 minutes. And there's a whole art form to it. And then as you sort of get a secure airway, then you move into cannulas and blah blah blah, right? So they had brought all this in. This wasn't a thing when I was studying. So yes, they recommended you cycle and stuff like that, but usually there was not really as much emphasis on it, right? Generally, from my experience anyway, you go to a cardiac arrest prior to this high performance CPR thing, and a lot of the younger paramedics are doing the CPR, and the more experienced ones like the intensive cares are just doing all the major treating and stuff like that, right? Which for the most part does make sense to a certain degree, but it was showing that a lot of paramedics were tiring of the CPR, and the CPR was becoming ineffective or not as effective as it should be. So they brought this in, and I knew nothing about it until I got there. And they were like, "Yep, so we're going to be doing high performance CPR." And I was like, "Doing what?"
That's like when someone's like, "All right, you're going to be giving a speech you haven't prepared for."
Yep.
Go out on stage.
Pretty much.
And you're like,
all right.
Topic is.
Topic is.
And
You're
you're
an
like,
idiot.
"No, don't." Yeah. I mean, I could talk about that for a long time.
Topic is don't get nervous.
So I got in there and I was like, what the hell is this? So I had to not only learn but hone in and remember all of this high performance CPR stuff on top of all the other stuff we had to do, like maternity, so women giving birth and all the rest of it, blah blah blah. So it was a lot I had to learn in a very small time period, because basically the first 3 weeks of the learning, and then you did all your assessments, and then you just final week is just summing everything up. So I felt like I almost didn't have the degree when I got there. And it was difficult because a lot of them knew each other from classes and whatnot, where I knew no one there.
Yeah, jeez.
So, yes, I'm a sociable person, but I was like, I found it difficult because I really wanted to concentrate and learn the stuff. And so I was trying not to be as social and get too carried away with the social side, and actually trying to hone in on the paramedic skills. So yeah, it was a bit difficult, but anyway, got through that.
Then you're a paramedic.
Then took a photo in front of the ambulance on the last day.
I remember that photo on Facebook.
That was a really.
That was you wearing the blues.
Yep.
Hands on
the hips. Type situation or something like that.
In front with the car in the background.
Yeah, the car and the ambulance in the background. Yep.
Everyone knew you were sort of gunning for this, and that was the
that was the highlighting moment to go like, holy hell, it was good. He's here now.
Yeah. We were all very happy.
Yeah, and it was also like a lot of people knew the journey that I'd taken to get there.
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of the people that keep around me today are those who have known me 5, 10 plus years. Right? They know the journey I've gone through. So actually putting that photo up was showing, hey, I actually fucking did it. I'm actually here. So. It was a really vindicating moment to be like, I've actually gone through the process, and now I'm actually going to go on road as a paramedic. So I remember that was on the 11th of February, and on the 13th, so on the Sunday, was my first shift.
Jeez. What was the first shift like?
Nerve-wracking as hell.
Really?
Did you have someone quite experienced with you?
Yeah, so I actually still see. So my first paramedic partner, name's Rachel. Actually, so we were partnered for the first block together, or first roster together, and we actually now work in neighbouring towns.
Oh no!
Our bush. I've seen her around, and we still keep in contact and stuff. But she was my first partner. She was great. She definitely gave me the strictness I needed to really try and focus in on the things I needed to know and stuff like that, but wasn't unfair about it. We're still able to communicate well, constructive criticism and all the rest of it. Poor thing, I bombed her with questions left, right and centre. But I mean, probably a good thing, right? Try and learn.
It's crazy because you start, for example, when I started my job, I'm like nervous and you're like, oh, I don't know anything. But when the stakes are so high, with being a paramedic, something could happen and you get called out, and it could be obviously a critical situation. Obviously they have other
Yeah, you can go
paramedics
from
that
a
can
stubbed
go.
toe to like a 10-car motor vehicle accident.
Yeah, yeah.
Or something even
And obviously you've
more
had-
gruesome. And I've had all sorts of stuff
Yeah.
everywhere in between.
Yeah.
I remember my first day fairly vividly.
Did anything?
Nothing crazy happened actually. I was pretty thankful. My first gentleman was a bariatric, so a larger gentleman, who he was too large for our ambulances. So I know some people might find it a bit, funny that they have to get like a larger ambulance, but there are larger people. So
Yeah.
Right.
we have larger ambulances that have bigger stretchers and other equipment that we can use
Yeah,
to sort of
yeah.
help facilitate transport in the hospital. The reason I laugh because it was really not something that I expected as my first
Yeah,
job.
it's
Like it's
something that's a bit-
nothing against that job. He was a lovely gentleman.
Yeah.
And because there's only two of those, I think for there's two classes of those vehicles. So they've got the light, which is like in between ours, and then the heavy, which is the bigger one. And we needed the heavy for him, which basically has all the specialty equipment and stuff, and you need to be trained on how to use it.
Do you need like a different driver's license to drive it, or?
No,
Yeah.
like still the same driver's license, but you get trained on how to use all the equipment in it and everything like that. And usually paramedics that do it have been on road for a couple of years, so they're used to driving the vehicles and everything like that and whatnot. So, excuse me. So it's definitely an odd first job and not what I expected, and not in a bad way, just very odd. But it really helped me able to relax a little bit as well, because I was able to just sit there, talk with him. He wasn't unwell. Like, he had a few things going, but we had to take him to hospital. So it was like, we just had to sort of sit there. And I remember we had to keep him sitting up. So he was just resting on my leg whilst I was crouching down behind him, and we were just chatting for, I reckon, about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I would just alternate legs when I got a bit tired, but we just sat there. The other paramedics were having a chat. And yeah, it was good. It was an odd experience. I was expecting something a lot more high acute.
Yeah.
Knowing that I tend to attract pretty unwell patients and have a record of it.
This is another conspiracy theory that goes
Well,
on.
I mean, when it becomes a
with
fact,
all the,
then you
same
can't
with all the
really-
crazy football players just coming after you. Because anyway,
It's
All
too-
right over there.
I'm kidding. Couldn't help myself.
Nah, so it just it wasn't what I expected. Not off the bat. I expected like the
Bang, straight into the action.
gruesome.
Yeah.
Weeby's here. So we're gonna.
Do you want to let him in? I'll
can
keep
let him
it.
in.
I'm sure Adrian can keep talking for a bit.
I'm sure I can keep talking. So spent quite a few hours with him. Got him to hospital. That ended up taking about half the day actually. By the time we sort of finished everything, and then second job wasn't as notable of a job. I think it was a chest pain job, like a run-of-the-mill chest pain job. Like it didn't end up in cardiac arrest or anything like that, but still treated down that pathway. And then my last job was backing up a paramedic in the Blue Mountains, which was not something you do very often. So
Backing.
we sort of backed up another paramedic with our ambulance. So
Right.
So it was a bit of an odd first day.
This is not acceptable.
This is
you don't run. What are you doing?
G'day, Weeby.
So it was back when I was running 1,000 kilometers.
This is Joseph Weeby. He has his own podcast. You might.
Yeah,
notice,
it doesn't seem to be enough because here I am crashing this podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
don't let me interrupt. A good host gets out of the way. So.
You're right. Ironically, not much of this podcast has actually been about running.
No way.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put a huge disclaimer. Oh no, Joey, I was looking forward to.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, the first day wasn't exactly what I expected when I was on road, but it was good for me to be able to transition slowly into getting used to the paramedic life. It was definitely a different beast. I think my first big job came after a couple of, first big day came after a couple of weeks. So at least gave me a bit of time to settle in. So wasn't anything gruesome, just a couple of very, very unwell medical kind of situations, and now back to back as well. And that sort of really, really tested the waters with how well I can sort of cope with the situation. I actually write down all of my big jobs. So every single big job I've done since I got on road, I actually written all of them down. I started with writing every single case, but when you're working in the city and you do 9 jobs a day, trying to write 28 jobs a week whilst work, it's a bit ridiculous. So I just write down all the big jobs that I do.
What do you like? Almost like a journal? Or?
Yeah, sort of like to remember it, to learn, to process it. Not always in a bad way processing. Sort of like sometimes it's processing to learn more from it. Sometimes it's processing because it was a bit more of a traumatic job. And it sort of just helps hash out where I can improve and whatnot as well. So not necessarily in the treatment, but maybe like I could have gotten them out a bit of a different way better or something like that. Could have parked the ambulance in a bit of a better position. All the sort of like little knick-knacky things that we have to think about as well. So so I've been writing all those down since I started. So I think it's really good. It definitely helped. Like it is sort of like a journal, but yeah, I think it helps.
What are you allowed to share? Maybe just one job, or like one
I'm
job
I can share jobs. Obviously, I can't reveal any patient information and stuff like that, but I can share like.
Well, just one that you remember that sort of stuck out. There's probably a few.
I'll try. Yeah.
Maybe keep it.
I'll keep it. Something.
I know. I've
not giving
some,
everybody vicarious trauma.
Just keep it somewhere in the middle.
What's one? Actually, okay. A job I sort of did would have been actually it was Easter weekend this year. I was partnered with the state. So I'm now in Warren, out bush, and partnered with the station officer. It was the first day partnering with him, and I had friends coming to visit for Easter. They came to Warren to visit for the long weekend, and they rocked up. We're having a nice chill day. Didn't have any jobs, and then about 4:30 in the afternoon, got called to this chest pain job. The directions were a bit confusing, and it was basically we got the idea that they were travelling from their property down towards Warren.
Right.
So they lived about 80 k's away, right on like a massive piece of land, and so anyway, we knew sort of the direction that they were, so we just started heading that way. I was driving, partner was treating, and I just didn't like the sound. I had a really bad feeling about this job. Generally, when I have a really bad gut instinct, it tends to become some form of as bad as I feel it is. So
anything you remember why? Like, do you know why? Or?
The notes that were coming down. So we have a screen in the car that tells us like the notes that are coming, like the notes from the job that are coming down from like the call takers.
Yeah.
I just didn't like how it sounded. It was saying sort of like he was potentially in and out of consciousness, but it wasn't saying that he was unconscious, but they were saying that he was awake. It was a bit confusing. It just
didn't add up.
It didn't add up. It made me feel a bit off. I was like, I don't like this. So I drove a bit faster to it. Then it was still license iris response, obviously, but I drove a bit faster to it because I had a really bad, like safely obviously, but just I had a really bad feeling. So we got there. He was conscious. He was breathing like we are now, type thing. Like completely alert. Sitting in the passenger seat. His wife was driving, and she pulled into this really nice wide driveway, which was great. So we pulled up opposite so we could pull the bed out, right? I just said to my partner, is he conscious and breathing? He goes, yep. I said, how about we get him in the car and assess him in there because we have all of our stuff in here. So that way we don't have to keep pulling out kits and stuff like that. We can just do everything here, right? And he's like, yep, great idea. It's like, sweet. Pulled out the bed, popped it next to the door. He's able to stand, got him in the bed in the car. Second, we got him in the car. We turned on the life pack, like the defibrillator type thing, to check the rhythm of the heart. Partner was doing all these observations. I started helping put some leads on the chest. All these checks came back, right? Bit surprised at this stage. Blood pressure was a touch high, but he had chest pain. Sure. So we went down like the cardiac pathway, like the heart pathway. So we give like certain medications for it, put a cannula in. And I remember my partner was putting in a cannula, and as he was in the process of popping one in, he just literally arrested in front of us. So he just went, like he just stopped breathing. Everything just tightened and just full-blown cardiac arrest. In the process, so I looked at him, I was like, what the hell? And then I heard, so what the defibrillator does is when it notices a life-threatening rhythm, it actually prints out a strip. And I heard the printer going and I was like, oh this can't be good. I looked back and saw, like a shockable life-threatening rhythm. And I was like, I looked at my partner. I was like, I think he's arresting, and he goes, yeah, I think he is. But we were just so taken back.
Because he was just conscious,
he was
normal, fine.
literally lying on the bed as if we lay on the bed now.
Yeah,
right?
Crazy how correct your gut is in that scenario.
And it took and I know it sounds like we took a while to assess it. This happened over a few seconds. We were like, I think he's arresting and stuff like that. So we got straight on the chest.
Yeah, you're not sort of.
We weren't just taking our time. We're just like, oh, you know what? Actually,
You know what? Is he arresting?
Actually, you know what? Hang on.
Might be arresting.
Oh, you know what? Hang on. I'll go get the water first. No, like,
Yeah.
let
me Google this.
Yeah. I'm an accountant, right? Yeah. So
Hands not on the.
So anyway, we I know I'm not exactly.
You've been like
this,
tapping the.
I'm not exactly a professional at this. So
No, you're right.
That's right.
anyway, so he arrested in front of us. Partner started CPR. I radioed very quickly that he was arresting. In the meantime, put the pads on him, and because he was still in that shockable rhythm, we shocked him straight away, and we actually got him back. Much to our surprise, to be honest with you. This all happened within a minute's time frame. So pretty quick considering we radioed, he's on the chest, I tear open the pads, put them on, set the defib to how it needs to do, charge it up to 200 joules, and then shock him. So we reacted pretty quickly.
You're not obviously thinking at that point.
No, it's all automatic, right? It's automatic at this stage. This was actually our first job together, by the way.
Yeah.
So we'd never worked a job together before. And everything... It worked so smoothly. It was like we knew.
Do you remember? Or is it just a blur? Okay.
Every bit of it.
So it slows down in that.
It slowed down a lot. Like you see, say like a goalkeeper's diving for a goal and looks slow motion. It was like that, but like everything was like going slow motion. But there was so much happening all at once. It's kind of hard to describe. You have that much going on. A lot of it is automatic, but there's also things you need to think about as well, like the fact that we're 25 kilometers out of town. We're the only ambulance resource for an hour. There's no fireys at all to come help. So we only had cops, and they were coming from town, so they're still 25 kilometers away. Yeah. So we're by ourselves in the middle of the bush.
But lucky you're not.
What do you do from there?
So we so when we shocked him and got him back, I just said, look, I said if you're happy, I'm going to come around and get IV access or cannula from the other side. Like in his left arm, because the right side is next to where the paramedic sits, but the left side is next to the wall of the ambulance, so it's kind of hard to get there. So I went around the back of the ambulance, got in, and popped the cannula in, and in the meantime, I don't know where this came from, but my brain was obviously firing all cylinders, and I basically said to him, I noticed his airway went when he arrested. Why don't you size up all the different types of airways so that way if he does arrest again, we know what size airway to put in. Right. No idea where that came from. I still to this day can't figure it out. I've had a few arrests prior and that thought never really crossed my mind. Like you assess it when you're doing it, obviously, but to preemptively assess it was something I'd never really thought of. So anyway, he did that. I popped the cannula in. We gave him some anti-nausea stuff because he's starting to feel sick. As I was starting to push the anti-nausea stuff in, he arrested again. So because I was closer to his chest, I hopped on the chest. Partner charged up the life pack. We shocked him again and got him back. Whilst in the process of doing that, and I was on the chest, the back doors were open, and I could see the cops coming down the road. And I was like, "You could not get here any quicker." I remember I was like actively doing CPR, like get here quicker, like just drive. As we shocked him, got him back, cops arrived on scene. We just literally like, one of you get in the front, you're driving. In the meantime, he stayed conscious. And we just did all the other checks that we have to. We obviously rechecked his heart, this and that. He did have a pacemaker, so that was showing up on the ECG, which is normal for him. So the cop drove back to Warren Hospital, which was still 25 kilometers away. We did get there quite quickly. Stayed fine all the way there. Did all our checks. Got him in. As we got there, we lined up our bed next to the other one, and the nurse was like, "Oh, can you give me a bit of a handover first?" And I was like, "Well, he's a cardiac arrest patient that you know about." She was like, "Yeah, I want to know a bit first." I was like, "Well, he's arrested twice, we shocked him twice, we got him back, and here he is." And she was like, "Oh," and then bang, he arrests again.
Oh shit!
Right? I was like, "You couldn't have asked after he was on your bed? Like, come on." So So back on the chest I get. This time took 2 more rounds of CPR and 2 more shocks to get him back. When we got him back, I was like, get him on the bed. And I was like, nah, get him on the bed. I was like, any other questions can wait.
What the hell's the
So, look, this nurse, I think, was very stressed and had set particular ways that she liked doing things. But you can't have set particular ways when the person's actively dying in front of you.
Yeah.
That kind of goes out the window a little bit, right? So I got him on the bed, whacking on all of their monitors and this and that. The doctors arrived in the meantime, and all the other, literally every nurse in the hospital was rocked up because there's only a small hospital. So we had four nurses, a doctor, and us 2. And then, so they're putting on all the stuff. I'm, of course, helping put the dots on the chest. Bang, he rests again. Right?
Jeez.
So, and I laugh just out of disbelief because every time I say it, it doesn't even sound real when I say it. It sounds made up, right? So back on the chest I get. This time he was down for quite a while, which basically means the shocks weren't bringing him back. My partner was managing the airway, so at this point they had put an airway in because we had to sedate him. And I know it sounds a bit contraindicated because you think he's already dead, right? So you wouldn't have to sedate him, but the CPR was bringing him back, but not in the way it should have brought him back. So he was quite combative and trying to hit you off.
Oh, really?
But he wasn't. It's kind of hard to explain, but basically...
So when you rest, what are you actually doing? What do you have to do?
I started with CPR.
Okay.
So me physically was CPR because I was right at the chest. So it's just no mucking around, just straight on.
Right.
My partner was at the airway.
And then the shocks...
They weren't doing anything at this stage. So we had bumped the joules up already. So 360 joules is the maximum that we can shock. We did our 2 minutes, go through our cycle, do the shock, nothing, and kept repeating. The nurses were pummeling in all these different medications to try and get everything going. He had a 45, what we call downtime, so time between, it was from when he's gone down, so when he's actively started arresting. So he's down about 45 minutes.
You mean from that
last
latest one?
Yeah, from the latest one. So 45 minutes. At this stage, I think the nurses relieved me from doing CPR. I mean, the irony is I've just gone through the high performance CPR, right? You meant to swap every 2 minutes. At this stage, I'd done about 40 minutes before someone realised that I actually do need to swap. But I was actually feeling quite okay. I had that much adrenaline running that I was just still doing really good CPR.
Yeah. But I thought once you got to the hospital, someone else would take over.
Yeah.
You'd think so.
Yeah.
But a lot of nurses hadn't done much of a cardiac arrest situation before.
Yeah.
We have a bigger scope of practice. We don't use their drugs. They have their own drugs that they use. So we thought they're better practice just getting all their medications in. We'll run the airway, we'll run the CPR and do the life pack and stuff. So that way we can sort of all work together with it, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, did about 40 odd minutes, got tagged out, then got tagged back in.
Jeez, where's his wife at this point?
The other cop drove the wife back, but she was in a waiting area outside.
Jeez.
We got him back after 45 minutes.
Wow.
And finally, he stayed back for a while. I stayed back. He had a pulse and he was breathing a bit by himself. He wasn't conscious at this point. But we were happy with that. He was, had a heartbeat. So, so by this stage, stabilized him for a bit. Sweet. We already had retrieval, so the helicopter coming to meet us at the hospital so they could take him away. So I went out and spoke to the wife and I said, hey, critical, but we've got a heartbeat back at this stage. He's some form of breathing on his own, but we are assisting him a bit. We're going to do a few things. Helicopter's on the way, and the son arrived in the meantime, so I spoke to both of them. Got back inside, and my partner was on the chest.
Fuck. Jeez.
And I was like, don't tell me I've just basically lied to this.
No, yeah.
Obviously, with the information at the time, I wasn't lying, but I was just like, come on, don't do this. So as I walked back in, it started. So he got on the chest. I ran straight over to the life pack and just hit charge, and just got everyone away type thing. And then we shocked him and we got him back. and this time he stayed back properly. So in total, he arrested 7 times, which shot him 14 times, which is unheard of, right?
Yeah.
I'd never heard of anything like that before in my life. So anyway, we former stabilized him. The retrieval helicopter team arrived. They intubated. They put the Lucas, like the automatic CPR machine, on. Packaged him up neatly as they do, and we drove him over to the field where the helicopter is, and they flew him to Orange. And they found a 99% block in one of the major blood vessels in his heart.
Oh my goodness.
Which was so he got a stent which widens the blood vessel.
Yeah.
Clot was taken out, and he actually lived with no deficits.
Far out. That's
Wow.
crazy.
And he actually came to visit me at the ambulance station about a couple of months ago.
Wow.
Really?
To come say thank you and everything with his wife.
That's a great result. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know. I just
So happy with that.
Yeah. Dom talking about like it's a PB.
I was aiming for 15 shocks. We only got to 14. You know.
What was it like when they showed up?
Sorry.
What was it like when they showed up to see you?
I couldn't believe my eyes.
Yeah.
He just goes, "Do you remember me?" And I said,
Mate, I can't. No way I can forget
I
you,
just said
mate.
to him, I said, "No offense, but I said, I remember you lying down, not standing up."
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to say. I was like he's here, he's physically here, and he looked well,
Yeah. Wow.
right? For like he's 82 years old,
Oh jeez.
right? Like, but yeah, like he looked well. He like good color, like nice and healthy and everything. His doctors, his cardiologists and everything were just like, I don't know how he lived. I don't know how. I think he was just everything was working in his favor that day. His wife driving to us to start with, us witnessing it right in front of us, reacting quickly, getting to the hospital, everyone working really well together, getting the retrieval team, getting him out, the doctors who did all the stenting and the procedures and all that kind of stuff. Like it just everything, like everything worked in his favor. And so we had a chat. We showed him at the ambulance station. Showed him the ambulance and stuff like that. Thankfully, he doesn't remember anything after he got on the stretcher and into the ambulance.
Right.
So, which is really fortunate. So thankfully, he wasn't as traumatized about the situation. So that was a big job. It was my first.
You reckon?
Yeah, it was my first helicopter job.
Yeah.
First witnessed cardiac arrest. It was basically first time everything. First time delivered a shock on a real person. There was a lot of first times in that thing, and everything just worked out really well.
Yeah. Jeez.
That's a job that stuck with me because I don't know how he lived.
Yeah.
You pretty much did the perfect job. Like for that.
Yeah. As much as like I've done jobs that were really good and like have definitely helped with my skills and everything.
No,
like
as
that.
in
this
for what
job,
the experience you had.
Yeah, this job really validated me in my own head as a paramedic, going like, you really did what you meant to do.
Yeah.
And all your training and your knowledge and everything has really come to fruition in that moment. And it shows, that if you're doing the right things, you literally can keep someone alive.
Yeah.
If it's the right day for it. So that's one job that was quite mental.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I haven't heard the full details of that story or that job. So
It was
not in that much.
I
remember
mentioned to you guys.
You got a cardiac arrest, but I
Mentioned
didn't
you
realize
guys.
it was that
But
sort of
prolonged.
prolonged.
Well, you sort of wanted a bit longer version, so there it is. So that was a job that really stuck with me. That one, in a positive way.
Yeah.
It was really, really validating. So, I got plenty of other jobs that I've done that are, in their own way, big jobs and stuff like that. But, we could be here all day and that's not really what we want to do. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, back to running.
I don't think we can easily segue into running after that. So I went out for 18 kilometre easy.
You know what though? I have to say, even though I've been a lot less consistent as of recent with a lot of my physical activity, I do try to keep active. yes, it's not to the extent of, running 4 or 5 times a week, because I don't always get that luxury with working a week straight. But I do try to keep active and keep fit, and I think that really did actually help contribute to being able to do CPR for so long as well. So that's going to be my segue back into no, it was a really good job. So
cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. It's like puts everything into perspective for sure. Like I don't know, nothing else really matters other than
and
staying alive.
He's able to see his family again. They're able to see him again.
Yeah.
His grandkids still have a grandfather. He's still able to be there for his wife.
Yeah.
Everything like that. So really rewarding job, that one. Yeah. You want more stories?
How do we? That's probably where we should end. Where have we been?
Yeah. Good note to end on.
Yeah, that was a good note to end on. Okay, what about? No, I won't go into something completely separate.
I was gonna say, you're gonna do your last.
What
question.
are your? No. What's your plans with running? Anything?
Yep. So I've obviously I've not been consistent in the slightest as of recent. I'm aware of it. I own it. That's fine. So I am on annual leave at the moment. So what I've been trying to think of is how can I try and find something that's going to motivate me in the sense of a goal, or try and sort of work around how I'm going to be more consistent. So I thought I'm going to pick a race that I want to do and do my best to train for it. And then if I can't do the race because I'm working on that day, then so be it. But I'll at least train with the goal of actually getting to that race, and try to just be more consistent. Will I hit a PB? Definitely not on my first one back. But the idea is just to try and just be more consistent. To eventually exercising every day, incorporating a bit of gym work and stuff as well into it. Grateful that we do have gym equipment and stuff at the ambulance station and everything, and every ambulance station does have gym equipment, so incorporating that into some strength work and everything as well. So that bit of bike riding, which I know from a podcast a few years ago that I did mention the bike.
That's true.
I do,
That's the secret podcast. The secret one.
That is the secret one, that one. So trying to incorporate different ways so I'm not taxing the legs as much, doing it in different muscle groups and stuff. So so the goal's trying to set a race. I was thinking, given the time of year, probably the sun run.
Could do Canberra as well. I think we might go down
Canberra.
to Canberra.
So I was thinking one of those ones I've sort of done before, so I know the course and everything like that. Canberra's obviously a bit more difficult to get to, especially living out bush. But that is potentially an option as well. I'm trying to see. I thought maybe start with the sun run being just a 10-kilometer one, and just sort of ease back into it instead of going straight into a half marathon.
Yeah, sun run's pretty hard though.
It's a hard race for sure. Look, I'm not exactly going to say I'm going to be doing 350s up a hill.
Sun run,
But saying that, it'd be good to sort of. I mean, that was the first run we did. Bit of nostalgia with that, and then just gauge where I'm at with running as well, and then sort of just build on that. So, I think the goal will be to sort of just and not do too many races in a year just to start with. Just sort of aim for a couple and just build up slowly, and then just sort of get back into it that way. So. Good. I think that's sort of the plan sort of moving forward, because I'm trying to think of different ways to do it, and every way I've tried, I haven't been consistent enough to sort of get away with it. So
just got to keep trying.
And
you'll get there. But it's a tough balance.
It's definitely a tough balance. I already push my body enough as it is, work-wise, sleep-wise, diet-wise, and everything like that, and then trying to incorporate full-time running into it kind of doesn't really make.
It's a big commitment.
It makes it really difficult. So I am trying to incorporate more healthy stuff, like trying to sleep more and stuff like that where I can, be more consistent with my sleep. So instead of averaging the 4 hours sleep I'm normally used to, I'm getting more 6 to 8, which is good. So I know the recommended's 8, so I'm getting there slowly. And then just trying to, even when even if I'm working, as long as I'm not on jobs all day, trying to at least just get a bit of even half an hour of activity in of some sort. Is sort of the way I sort of want to move forward from here, and just not everything has to be recorded on Strava, and just sort of just in my books.
Yeah, I would strongly push back at that.
Yeah. Just because like some of the stuff I do, like I might do a bit of gym work. It's really hard to record like gym work and stuff on
I'm kidding,
Strava. You record a workout, you can't record how hard you're working, the heart rate you get to is. It's a bit silly. So Strava's.
Yeah, it was on Instagram.
Oh yeah, I've become Insta famous and become an Insta model and shit. Yeah. Sounds vibe, mate. Yeah. With my top line physical physique,
Top line.
I'll be Insta famous for sure. So when I do runs and stuff, I obviously record on Strava. Otherwise, I do tennis and that as well. So socially, so I don't record that on Strava. It's just a bit.
Oh, you give you some serious.
I'm trying to give myself a few points here.
Tennis. So I think we'll cut you off here. Actually,
I'm no good at it. I'm no good at it, but
I go to the bathroom at night. You put that on Strava.
Yeah, it's a workout.
Run back from Post Malone concert.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 5Ks I did or something like that from there.
That's true. That's true.
Counts. But we didn't put it on Strava. We might have.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah. even though the run just kind of half negated the 20 bevins we had prior.
Oh.
But anyway, so that's the way I'm sort of moving forward with my exercise. Really just trying to hone in on just being consistent, obviously, which is the biggest factor for improving, obviously. So so that's all how I look forward to running.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Dom, you got anything to add or you wrap it up?
No, I think that's
Just gonna
should be a wrap.
ignore the last question you ask every other person you're on your podcast other than me.
Well, what's this?
Favorite race?
Yeah.
I had to remind you about your 4-worded catchphrase, and now I'm going to remind you about the question.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I just asked myself the question.
Yeah.
Adrian, what was your favourite race? Oh, thank you for asking.
What was your favourite race? That's he doesn't understand the.
I know your podcast better than you do.
You don't even need to be here.
Yeah. Actually, you probably could have done the exact same amount of talking just to yourself, you could have pretended we were here. You're like,
you could have said like you guys had all gone for a swim, and I'll just do it myself.
literally.
So, thank you for asking that question.
Yeah, what was your favourite race?
Almost can't take it seriously.
The short version. Kidding.
Hadn't even started. There's two I'm sort of umming and ahhing about. One for my PB and one for like the race I ran itself. For PB wise, my 5K at the park run, Rhodes Park Run. I feel it was my
sub 20.
It was sub 20.
Yeah.
That I was really proud of. I didn't think I could do that. So that was really good. Favorite race was City to Surf when
you beat your dad's time.
When I beat my dad's time.
Yeah.
Dad ran it 3 times, and for all 3 times he's put in, I was able to beat that. So I'm pretty happy about that. Mind you, Dad was a bit of a more built, stronger guy, where I'm just basically skin and bone. So a little bit less weight to carry, but I was really proud of that race. I ran really, really strong. I was aiming for sub 60. I got 60 minutes and 38 seconds. So I wasn't too far off. But I couldn't have run any stronger.
Yeah.
I almost passed.
That was one of your
line.
gazelle moments.
The first gazelle moment was the Sydney half marathon. When I got double gazelle.
Gazelle.
Yeah.
I've just opened another door.
Look, we don't have to do that one, but that's anyway, so City to Surf was my favourite race.
Yeah.
That in regards to performance, 14Ks was the strongest I've ever been. Yeah. I reckon. And you guys have agreed when we've spoken about in the past, it's the strongest race I've done.
Sub 20 is pretty good.
On par with the sub 20. That was those two in their own respective rights were the 2 strongest races I've done. I have to say that's my favourite race. Gazelle part was because I sprinted over the finish line and felt really fresh afterwards because I hadn't run it properly, and then I dubbed myself the Gazelle, and then everyone laughed at me, and then it just caught on. So there you go.
Yeah, you called yourself the Gazelle.
I did. I said, and I quote.
Moving like a gazelle.
I said, and I quote, I felt like a gazelle running over the finish line.
Yes.
And the rest is history. So there we are. Anyway, we can wrap up now.
You give the permission. I tried to cut him off before the question. Oh no, that's good. Okay.
Do you have any other questions before we finish?
No, I certainly don't.
Thanks for coming on, Adrian.
Adrian, thank you.
It's been,
That was
It's been a pleasure. I'm
fantastic.
glad you guys have been able to put up with me for this period of time. So
Thank you for the stories.
yeah.
no
really
worries.
insightful.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having me on.
You do the honours, so stay
You
strong.
want me to do it? And stay fast.
Hey, he knows. Alrighty.
Yes.
Trying to kick you off the
Yeah, I know. Adrian's just like Leonardo DiCaprio. I'm finally.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking leaving. I don't know what to say.